It all begins in the mind. Think about that for a second. Your life, every decision, every action, every failure, every win, stems from one small spark of thought. What if that thought was positive? What if, instead of fear, you fed your mind with faith? Most people walk around with silent wars raging in their heads. I'm not good enough. It's too late for me. I can't do this. But what if, just once, you replace that noise with one simple phrase, I can? The truth is, positive thinking is not magic, it's muscle. A skill you develop by catching yourself in those dark spirals and choosing to climb out instead of digging deeper. It doesn't mean you ignore reality. It means you create a better one through the lens of hope. Because when your mind believes there's light ahead, your steps automatically move toward it. You see, the mind is not just where we think, it's where we live. Every emotion you feel, every reaction you give, every barrier you break or build, originates there. Most people underestimate the power of a single thought. They think that thinking I'll fail is harmless, just a passing doubt. But that seed of failure grows. It plants itself deep, takes root, and begins to twist your choices, your courage, and your confidence. That's the true danger of negative thinking. Not just what it says, but what it stops you from doing. It whispers, you're not ready, and suddenly you don't apply. It says, you'll mess up, and suddenly you don't speak up. But positive thinking, it whispers something entirely different. It says, you're growing. It says, try anyway. It says, you'll learn. And those whispers, they move mountains. Every great achievement, every remarkable person, every story of triumph you admire, they all started with belief. Before there was success, there was a thought, maybe I can. That one thought lit the fire. That one spark gave them the courage to start. And even when the world laughed, when the odds towered high, that thought kept burning. Positive thinking is the fuel that keeps people moving when the road gets long and hard. Without it, the journey ends before it begins. With it, the impossible becomes possible. But how do you truly embrace positive thinking when life keeps hitting you? When you're drowning in debt? When relationships fail? When your health declines? When people betray you? How do you stay positive then? The answer isn't to pretend those things don't hurt. It's to refuse to let them become your identity. Being positive doesn't mean being blind. It means being brave. It means saying, yes, this hurts, but I will not let it harden me. It means choosing to find the lesson, the light, the next step, even when you're surrounded by darkness. That's real strength. That's real power. Your thoughts are your most constant companion. More than your friends, more than your family, more than your job. You live with your thoughts every moment of every day. They are either your greatest support or your greatest saboteur. And the most incredible thing is that you get to choose them. That doesn't mean it's easy. Some of us have lived with negative thoughts for so long, we think they're truth. But truth and habit aren't the same. Just because a thought feels familiar doesn't mean it's right. If you've spent years telling yourself you're a failure, no wonder your confidence crumbles when faced with a challenge. But just imagine the power of replacing that pattern with a new one. I'm learning. I'm improving. I'm becoming. These aren't just words, they're weapons. And when used daily, they break through the walls that once held you back. Consider how your day begins. The moment you open your eyes, what's the first thought that hits you? Is it dread? Is it stress? Is it apathy? Those first few thoughts in the morning shape your entire momentum. They set the tone. A day that starts with, I'm so behind, I can't handle this, is already poisoned. But a day that starts with, I've got this, I'll take it one step at a time, is already healing. That's why positive thinking isn't just a feel-good concept. It's a daily discipline, a commitment to yourself, a promise that no matter how the world turns, you will protect your peace. And that protection begins with the words you say to yourself when no one is watching. Sometimes people confuse positive thinking with delusion. They think it's unrealistic, childish even. But here's the truth. It takes more courage to be positive than it does to be cynical. Anyone can criticize. Anyone can expect the worst and say, see, I was right. But it takes guts to believe in the good when the good hasn't shown up yet. It takes strength to plant seeds in a dry land and say, the rain will come. That's not naive, that's visionary. That's how leaders think. That's how world changers operate. They don't just see the now, they see the next. and that vision begins in the mind, fueled by the fire of positive thinking. Even in moments of complete failure, you have the power to choose your thoughts. You can look at failure and say, "I knew I'd mess up," or you can look at failure and say, "This is how I learn." Both thoughts are available, both are within reach, but only one builds you, only one strengthens your resolve. Think about how different your journey would be if you chose, again and again, the thoughts that push you forward instead of the ones that pull you under. It's not easy, but it's worth it, because every single thought is a vote for the kind of life you want to live. Make those votes count. This shift doesn't happen overnight. Changing your thoughts is like turning a massive ship. It takes time, consistency, and effort. But with each small change, you build a new pattern. Your brain begins to rewire. The default negativity starts to weaken, and slowly, your mind becomes a place of safety instead of sabotage. That's when you begin to notice something extraordinary. The world doesn't look as dark anymore. It hasn't changed. You have. And because you've changed, your experience of life becomes lighter, fuller, and more free. You'll still have bad days. Positive thinking isn't a magic switch that removes hardship, but what it does is give you a compass. When you feel lost, when things fall apart, that compass points you back to hope. It reminds you that pain is temporary. It reminds you that growth often comes in disguise. It reminds you that this too shall pass. And with that reminder, you stand up stronger than before. That's the power of choosing the right thoughts. They don't stop the storm. They teach you how to sail through it. Think of the people who inspire you the most. The ones who radiate calm in chaos. The ones who smile through struggle. The ones who lift others even when they're tired. These people aren't superhuman. They've just trained their minds to see beyond the struggle. They've made positive thinking a daily habit, not a random reaction. And that habit becomes their superpower. You can be that person. You can be the light in your own life, not by waiting for everything to get better, but by deciding to think better in every situation. Start with awareness. Catch yourself when negative thoughts creep in. Don't judge yourself, just notice. Then ask, is this thought helping me? Is this thought making me stronger or weaker? And if the answer is negative, replace it. Not with a lie, but with a better truth. Instead of "I can't handle this," try "I'll figure it out." Instead of "nothing ever works out for me," try "I'm getting closer to the breakthrough." These small changes compound. They grow, they transform. And the most beautiful part of this journey is that your thoughts don't just change your life, they ripple out. When you become more positive, you bring more peace into your relationships. You become a source of calm instead of conflict. You uplift instead of criticize. You inspire instead of infect. Your children learn from your resilience. Your friends feel your energy. Your presence becomes healing. And it all starts with what happens inside your own head. This is the power you've had all along. The power to think better, live better, and be better, not perfectly, not instantly, but purposefully. You get to choose whether your thoughts build you or break you, whether they lift you or limit you. Every thought is a foundation. Build carefully, build kindly, build with courage, because the truth is simple and profound. Your thoughts create your world. Guard them, shape them, fill them with faith, and watch how your life begins to shift, one positive thought at a time. There's a quiet strength in people who expect the best, even when life gives them the worst. They're not naive, they're powerful, because optimism is not weakness. It's the refusal to be destroyed by negativity. Every single morning is a blank canvas. You can paint it with doubts, or you can fill it with possibility. And when you do, even the small wins feel monumental. The key is to start small. One positive thought in the morning, one word of encouragement to yourself, one reason to keep going, then another. That's how momentum builds. You won't feel it right away, but day by day, you'll notice you complain less. You'll notice you react with calm. You'll notice your heart feels lighter. That's the power of positive thinking. It changes how you see life, and slowly, it changes your life itself. There's something sacred about the way your mind responds to expectation. When you expect defeat, you prepare for it. Your energy withdraws, your ideas shrink. You stay silent when you should speak. But when you expect something good, your mind opens up. You see chances where you once saw walls. You try harder, you risk more, You create instead of hesitate. This isn't just motivation talk. This is psychology. Your brain is wired to respond to the stories you tell it. Tell it you're doomed, and it will gather evidence to prove it. Tell it you're destined to rise, and it will search for signs to back that up. So much of life is not about what happens, but how we interpret it. Positive thinking gives you a lens that highlights opportunity even in adversity. Most people are so accustomed to disappointment that they expect it before it even arrives. They rehearse tragedy in their minds. They imagine failure before taking the first step. And in doing so, they become trapped, not by reality, but by anticipation. That's the cruel power of negative thinking. It kills momentum before motion ever begins. But what if you did the opposite? What if you trained your mind to expect something good? Not in a reckless or unrealistic way, but with grounded hope. What if you began each project believing that something beautiful could come from it, even if the road was rough? That kind of thinking changes your posture. You show up with more fire. You endure longer. You find reasons to stay when everything else says leave. That is the invisible magic of expecting the best. This isn't about forcing fake positivity. It's about choosing your focus. Life will always be a mixture of joy and pain, of progress and setbacks. You can't eliminate pain, but you can elevate perspective when something goes wrong. Your default setting might be to complain, but complaint does nothing. It feels good in the moment, but it weakens your will. It tells your brain there's no point in trying. Positivity, however, responds with purpose. It says, yes, this is tough, but I'll grow through it. And in saying that, you reclaim your power. You take the pain and turn it into fuel. That choice doesn't just help you. It becomes a habit that shifts how you handle everything. That comes next. The most successful people, not just in wealth, but in peace, fulfillment, and purpose, have learned this secret. They train their minds to expect the best. That doesn't mean they're spared from hardship. It means they go through hardship with a different engine. When a door closes, they look for the next. When a dream delays, they find new skills in the waiting. They don't fall apart at every setback because their mindset is rooted, not reactive. And you can be the same. You don't need a perfect life to have a powerful mindset. You just need to choose what you dwell on. You can let failure live in your head rent-free, or you can evict it and fill that space with belief. Belief in your ability, belief in growth, belief in better days. Start by watching your words. The things you say out loud are often mirrors of the things you think silently. When you say, "This always happens to me," or "I never get a break," you're not just expressing frustration, you're reinforcing a pattern. Your mind listens, your spirit follows, but when you speak differently, even if it feels strange at first, everything starts to shift. Say, "I'm getting stronger," even when you're tired. Say, "There's a way forward," even when it's unclear. Speak as though your words are seeds, because they are. Every time you speak hope, you plant something inside yourself that will grow if you water it with consistency. There will be days when positivity feels impossible, when grief wraps around your chest, or pressure builds, or loneliness weighs heavy. On those days, don't force joy, just protect your focus. You might not be able to feel good, but you can refuse to feed the bad. You can sit still, breathe deep, and remind yourself that this moment is not forever, that you've survived worse, that even pain, when held with grace, becomes a path to strength. That's what the quiet warriors know, the ones who don't smile because life is perfect, but because they've made peace with imperfection. They've accepted that life is full of storms, but they've also built shelter inside themselves. That shelter is made of thought, of discipline, of deep, daily intention. Some people say they're just not positive by nature, that they're wired to be realists, or that life has taught them to expect disappointment. And that may be true, but nature is not fate. You may have been raised in chaos. You may have learned to flinch when things go too well, always waiting for the crash. But you can unlearn fear. You can teach your mind to hope again. It starts small, with a daily choice to catch your complaints, to reframe your failures, to smile without a reason, just to remind your brain that joy is still an option. Over time, those small choices become powerful shifts, and before long, you won't even recognize the voice that used to live in your head, the one that always expected the worst. When you expect the best, you're not just changing your mood, you're changing your behavior. Hopeful people take more risks, they reach out for help, they forgive faster, they lead with kindness. Why? Because they're not spending all their energy preparing for disaster. They're using that energy to build something, and when things go wrong, they don't crumble, they course correct, because they know the road to greatness is rarely straight, it's full of curves and cliffs. But if you expect good things, you'll find the strength to keep driving, even when the map gets messy. Think about the people you admire most, maybe someone who overcame addiction, or built a business from nothing, or raised a family through tragedy. Ask them how they did it. The answer won't be luck or talent alone, it will be mindset. They believed something better was possible, and because they believed it, they acted like it. And because they acted like it, they created it. That's the loop. Belief breeds behavior. Behavior builds reality. And it all begins with how you think. This is your power. Right now. Not in some future where everything is easier, but here, in this moment. You get to choose what you expect. You can brace for failure, or you can prepare for breakthrough. You can sit and worry, or you can stand in faith. You can wait for things to change, or you can change the way you see things. It's not always instant, and it's rarely easy, but it's always worth it, because the more you train your mind to expect good, the more good you'll be ready to receive when it arrives. You may be thinking, but I've been hurt too many times to expect anything anymore. And that's valid. Hurt teaches us to guard our hearts, but don't let that guard become a cage. You're allowed to be careful, but you're also allowed to dream again. Pain doesn't mean you stop hoping. It means you hope with more wisdom, more clarity, more intention. Expecting the best doesn't mean expecting perfection. It means expecting growth. It means believing that even if you fall, you'll rise. Better, that even if this chapter is hard, the story isn't over. And when you start thinking like that, you'll start noticing how your mood shifts, how your relationships soften, how your decisions become bolder. Positive thinking isn't just about feeling better, it's about living better, with more courage, more peace, more power. And the beautiful thing, you don't need permission from anyone to begin. You don't need ideal conditions. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need one quiet decision to believe in better, to expect something beautiful, to wake up tomorrow and say, today might be hard, but I choose to believe something good is on its way. This is how transformation begins, not with a loud explosion, but with a quiet choice, a whispered decision, a daily commitment to expect the best, even when the worst seems louder. And when you do that, consistently, your life begins to take on a new shape, not because the world suddenly changes, but because you've changed how you show up in it. And that changes everything. Let's be real, life hits hard. People disappoint, plans collapse, and sometimes the road gets so dark that even hope seems silent. But this is where positive thinking becomes your shield. It's not about pretending pain doesn't exist. It's about refusing to give it permission to control your story. You don't need a perfect life to have a powerful mindset. You just need the courage to tell yourself, this isn't the end. The most beautiful souls are the ones who were broken, but still chose kindness. The ones who had every reason to be bitter, but still chose belief. If you want peace, start with perspective. Turn why me into what is this teaching me? Turn I'm stuck into I'm building. Shift the narrative, and you shift your strength. Positive thinking turns breakdowns into breakthroughs, if you let it. Sometimes the hardest thing to do is simply get out of bed and keep going. Not because your body is tired, but because your spirit is weary. Because the weight of everything you're carrying has pressed so long against your heart that it feels like even the smallest step forward might break you. But the truth is, that step, the one you don't think you can take, is the one that begins to change everything. Positive thinking in these moments is not a loud declaration. It's a quiet rebellion. It's refusing to surrender. It's standing in the ruins and saying, I'm not done yet. When your world shatters, your thoughts become your lifeline. Most people don't realize how fragile their minds are until they face loss, betrayal, or failure. And when it happens, their first instinct is often to question everything. Their worth, their purpose, their future. That's when negative thinking creeps in the fastest. It says, you were never good enough. It whispers, "You should have seen this coming." It laughs, "No one really cares." But those thoughts are not truth. They are trauma echoing through your mind. Positive thinking is the act of quieting that echo and replacing it with grace, with patience, with truth. You might feel like you're drowning in circumstances you can't control, but you can always control the meaning you give them. That's where real power lies, in interpretation. You can see a failure as a wall or as a lesson. You can see heartbreak as a rejection or as redirection. You can see a delay as punishment or as preparation. What you choose to believe becomes your experience. Two people can face the same storm, and one will break while the other builds. The difference, mindset, not resources, not luck, just the way they talk to themselves in the dark. This doesn't mean you ignore grief. It means you hold it with both hands and still choose to rise. It means crying when you need to, but not giving your pain the power to become your identity. So many people become permanent residents in places that were only meant to be passing seasons. They pitch tents in sadness. They build homes in bitterness. They adopt the language of defeat, but you don't have to live there. You can walk through that valley and keep walking. Positive thinking is what keeps your feet moving when everything inside wants to quit. Think about how often your thoughts tell you stories, not just about yourself, but about others, about the world, about what's possible. They don't care. "I'll never be enough. Everything's against me." These stories, when repeated often enough, feel like facts. They shape your reactions. They color your choices. But the truth is, you are the author, and you can rewrite. You can look at the same pain and decide, this isn't where I stop. This is where I learn how strong I really am. That shift isn't easy, but it's necessary if you want to heal, if you want to grow, if you want to become someone who rises, not someone who retreats. There's no magic in positive thinking, just choice, and that choice must be made daily, especially when you don't feel like it, especially when the shadows are loud and the light feels distant. That's when your decision matters most. It's easy to be positive when things go your way. It's in the chaos where real character is forged. When life doesn't look like you hoped, can you still believe it holds something good for you? That's the question that defines your journey. It's not about being fake. It's about being faithful. Being faithful to the version of yourself that refuses to be defined by pain. Being faithful to your values, even when they're tested. Being faithful to the truth that this life, with all its hardship, still has beauty, still has meaning, still has miracles hiding in the mess. Positive thinking helps you see them, not because it changes reality, but because it changes your readiness to receive what reality offers. Sometimes the opportunity is right in front of you, but your pain blinds you. A healed mind sees with clarity. A positive mind searches for reasons to move forward, not excuses to stay stuck. You don't have to ignore your struggles to embrace positive thinking. In fact, the more honest you are about your pain, the more powerful your mindset becomes. Denial is not strength, understanding is. To say, "I'm hurting, but I won't let this hurt turn me into someone I'm not," is one of the most courageous acts of all. That's what turns wounds into wisdom, not the absence of struggle, but the presence of perspective. When you view pain as something temporary, something that will pass, something that will teach, you remove its ability to define you. You will fall again. You will have more bad days. That's the rhythm of life. But falling doesn't mean failure. A positive thinker knows how to fall with grace and rise with grit. They know that just because the world feels heavy doesn't mean their heart must stay closed. They keep it open to love, to growth, to joy, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That's the discipline. Choosing light when darkness is easy, choosing peace when panic is common, choosing hope when despair is popular. Look around, negativity is everywhere. It's the default language of the world. News, gossip, complaints, criticism. Most people speak that language fluently, but you can learn a new one, the language of resilience, the language of optimism, the language of quiet strength, and the more you speak it, the more you attract others who do the same. Your mindset becomes a filter. It decides what you accept, what you reject, and what you create. Positive thinking doesn't just help you survive, it shapes who you become in the process. And who you become matters more than what you achieve. Because even if you win the world and lose your soul, what's the point? A negative mind can build an empire and still be miserable. But a positive mind can find peace even in simplicity. This isn't about ambition, it's about alignment. Aligning your thoughts with truth, aligning your reactions with grace, aligning your self-talk with the love and patience you would give to someone else. When you hit your lowest moments, you'll be tempted to give up. Not just on goals, but on joy, on trust, on love. That's when positive thinking becomes your survival skill. Not the sugar-coated kind that says, everything's fine, but the grounded kind that says, this is hard, but I'm healing. That's what keeps you human when life wants to make you hard. That's what keeps you believing. When everything around you says to give up, there's power in catching a negative thought and challenging it. Where did it come from? Who planted it? Is it even true? Most of our mental habits are inherited from childhood, from fear, from failure. But inherited doesn't mean permanent. You can choose to let go, to think differently, to believe again. That belief, no matter how small, is the start of everything. It's the crack in the wall where light gets in. It's the breath before the next attempt. It's the fire that refuses to die down. This is not an overnight process. It's a daily rebuilding, a slow rewriting, a commitment to speaking life over yourself even when you don't feel like it. You may fail, you may slip back into old patterns. That's okay, just don't unpack and live there. Catch it, reset, speak something better, keep going. That's what positive thinkers do. They return to truth, again and again, until it becomes their default. You've come too far to give up on yourself now. You've survived storms that were meant to destroy you. You've endured seasons that left you breathless, and yet, here you are, still standing, still hoping, still learning. That's strength. That's proof. Don't waste that proof by feeding the lies in your head. Feed your faith instead. Starve your doubt. Talk to yourself like someone worth saving. Because you are. At the end of the day, pain is part of the journey, but misery is optional. You can't control every hit life throws at you, but you can control how long you let it live in your heart. Let it pass. Let it teach. Then let it go. And while you heal, keep thinking better. Keep choosing thoughts that uplift. Keep rewriting your inner dialogue. Because every time you do, you're building a future that's brighter, stronger, and more whole than anything you've lost. And maybe, just maybe, you'll look back one day and say, that was the moment I decided not to be defeated. That was the day I chose light, even in the dark. That was the start of my comeback. Let that day be today. Let that moment be now. Let your thoughts rise and watch your life follow. Negativity is loud. It echoes in your mind, sneaks into your relationships, and poisons your potential. But here's the twist. Positivity doesn't need to shout. It whispers with quiet conviction. It says, you're enough when the world says you're behind. It says, try again when failure tells you to quit. Think of your mind as a garden. Every thought is a seed. You can plant worry or you can plant faith. You can grow doubt or you can grow dreams. But what you feed will flourish. So guard your mind like your life depends on it. Because it does. Speak life into your goals. Uplift others even when you're hurting. See the good, even when it hides. These aren't cliches. They're tools that help you rebuild. When everything around you is crumbling. Every day, the world offers 1,000 reasons to be cynical, to complain, to give in to fear and frustration. The negativity we see isn't just in headlines or online arguments. It's in the quiet way people stop believing in themselves, in how dreams are shelved without ceremony, in how resentment replaces hope like slow-growing mold. And if you're not conscious, negativity becomes your normal. It becomes how you speak to yourself, how you judge others, how you view opportunities. That's the real danger, not the big events that shock you, but the small mental shifts that go unnoticed. One moment of doubt becomes a day of hesitation. One harsh word to yourself becomes a belief. One disappointment, if held too long, becomes a personality trait. But positivity, true, grounded, quiet positivity, interrupts that pattern. It is not loud, but it is strong. It doesn't overpower the darkness. It outlasts it. It begins with self-talk. The most powerful conversations you'll ever have are the ones no one hears. the ones between you and you, when you mess up, when you're rejected, when you're overwhelmed. What do you say to yourself? Most people are cruel to themselves in ways they would never be to others. They insult, they punish, they remind themselves of every flaw. But positive thinking demands a different tone, not denial, not fantasy, but compassion. Instead of, "I'm so stupid," you say, "I made a mistake, but I'm learning." Instead of, "I'll never get it right," you say, "I'm getting closer every time I try." This isn't just being nice to yourself, it's giving your mind a safe place to grow. Without safety, you won't take risks. Without kindness, you won't believe you deserve to try again. Negativity often thrives in silence. We absorb it from our environments, from critical voices, from unhealed wounds, and we never challenge it. But once you start listening closely, you'll hear it, the way you doubt yourself when you see someone doing better, the way you assume the worst when plans change, the way you prepare for disappointment even before hope can take root. That's the noise we have to silence, not by force, but by focus. You don't fight darkness by yelling at it. You shine light. Positive thoughts are that light. They expose the lies. They remind you of your worth. They give you strength when circumstances try to drain it. It's important to know that positive thinking isn't about being happy all the time. That's not realistic, and it's not necessary. What matters is what you do with your emotions. You can feel pain and still protect your perspective. You can be disappointed and still hold on to hope. Positivity doesn't deny reality. It decides how you move through it. It says, "Yes, this is hard, but I won't let this moment define the rest of my life." That's not weakness. That's emotional strength. That's resilience. And it grows each time you choose not to feed the negativity that knocks on your door. You'll meet people who live in negativity without even knowing it. They expect the worst. They talk down to themselves. They sabotage their own efforts. Not because they're bad people, but because somewhere along the way, life taught them not to trust good things, so they prepare for pain, even when joy is possible. If you're one of those people, know this: you can unlearn that mindset. You can teach your brain to expect beauty again, but it starts by changing the questions you ask yourself. Not "Why would this work for me?" but "What if it does?" Not "What if I fail?" but "What might I gain even if I do?" That kind of reframing shifts everything. It opens up space for growth, for healing, for grace. And then there's the role of comparison, one of negativity's favorite tools. It tells you you're behind. It tells you someone else's success means your failure. But comparison is a liar. It never shows the full picture. It never accounts for timing, for effort, for invisible battles. Positive thinking doesn't just say, "I'm enough." It believes that other people can win without it being a loss for you. It celebrates others because it doesn't fear scarcity. That mindset frees you. It turns envy into inspiration. It turns jealousy into motivation. You don't have to dim someone else's light to shine your own. You just have to keep showing up with faith in your path. Positivity also impacts how you treat others. When your mind is full of grace, your words follow. You become someone who uplifts instead of criticizes. You become someone who sees people for who they can become, not just who they are today. That energy is contagious, it spreads. And in a world addicted to judgment, your kindness becomes revolutionary. Sometimes, the best thing you can do for your own mind is to help someone else believe in theirs. That's the gift of thinking positively. It doesn't stop with you. It creates a ripple effect that reaches places you may never see. Now let's talk about persistence. Because nothing reveals the power of positive thinking more than your ability to keep going. Not when things are easy, but when nothing is working. When you've given everything and you still don't see results. That's when negativity screams, "It's not worth it." And that's when positivity must whisper louder, "Keep going." That whisper might be quiet, but it's mighty. It holds you up when everything else tells you to give in. It reminds you that most breakthroughs come just after the point where people quit. Positive thinking helps you pass that threshold. It helps you see the bigger picture when you're stuck in a moment. You don't always need more talent. You don't always need more time. Sometimes you just need more belief, more inner fire, more refusal to let doubt win. That's what positivity gives you. It gives you reasons to stand up again. Reasons to believe that tomorrow holds more than today. Reasons to show up, even if yesterday was filled with failure. And slowly, that belief becomes real, not because the world changed, but because you did. You started thinking differently. And thoughts, over time, build habits. Habits shape identity. Identity determines destiny. Positive thinking also sharpens your vision. It trains your eyes to look for opportunity instead of obstacles. In every situation, there are both. What you find depends on what you're looking for. A problem can be a path. A setback can be a setup. A no can be protection. But only if your mind is open to it. Closed minds miss open doors. Positive minds walk through them. Let's not forget the role of gratitude. It's not just a feel-good exercise, it's a discipline. It trains your brain to notice what's right, even when much is wrong. It shifts your energy. It lowers stress. It reminds you that even on your worst days, something beautiful still exists. A breath, a friend, a sunrise, a second chance. When you train your mind to see those things, negativity loses its grip. It can't dominate a heart that's anchored in appreciation. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Of course, there will be days when none of this feels real, when the voice in your head is louder than the truth in your soul. That's okay. You're not a robot. You're allowed to have moments of doubt. But don't let those moments become your home. Visit, but don't unpack. Feel, but don't freeze. Let the negative thought pass like a cloud. Acknowledge it, question it, then replace it. That's the rhythm, that's the work, and that's how you win, not all at once, but over time, with gentle consistency. Remember, you don't rise by accident, you rise by intention. You rise by guarding your mind, by choosing your words, by feeding your hope. This isn't motivational fluff, it's mental training. It's the foundation of every decision, every habit, every dream. Your thoughts are the soil, and your future is the harvest. Plant well, water daily, and trust the process, even when growth feels slow. The best part, you don't have to be perfect to begin. You don't need a flawless mindset. You just need a willing heart. A heart that says, I'm tired of feeding fear. I'm ready to think better, live better, be better. And once you decide that, everything else starts to shift. Maybe not today, maybe not in a week, but in time, the seeds you plant now will bloom into a life that feels lighter, freer, and more powerful than you ever thought possible. So when negativity knocks, let it find no one home. Let your mind be full of purpose, to rooted in truth, to focused on growth, to entertain fear. Let your thoughts be a garden where doubt can't survive. And when you slip, because you will, don't start over. Start from where you are, with what you've got, and keep going. Keep thinking good. Keep speaking life. Keep building your inner world, one brave thought at a time. Because that's how you change your outer world, not by force, but by faith. Quiet, steady, unshakable faith. They say the mind is powerful, but few realize just how much control it holds over the direction of our lives. What you believe internally manifests externally. You can either be your own biggest ally or your own worst enemy. The truth is, your thoughts create your reality, not just in some magical, wishful way, but in how they shape your actions, influence your decisions, and determine how you respond to the world. If you constantly think you're not enough, you'll act like it, speak like it, and treat yourself like it. If you believe you're capable, even when life tells you otherwise, you'll stand taller, try harder, and refuse to quit. That's the difference between surviving and thriving. That's the power of a positive inner world. Imagine waking up every day with a choice. You can focus on all that could go wrong, or you can prepare yourself for what could go right. One fuels anxiety, the other fuels courage. One keeps you stuck, the other moves you forward. Positive thinking is not about denying reality. It's about refusing to let your fears shape it. You still face the same world, but you show up differently. You take chances you otherwise wouldn't. You treat people better because you're not projecting your pain onto them. You give yourself permission to grow, to evolve, to try again. That internal shift changes everything, not because the world becomes easier, but because you become stronger. And strength isn't about how loud or dominant you are. True strength is quiet confidence. It's the inner voice that says, I can handle this, even when you've never faced it before. Positive Thinking builds that voice, day by day. It replaces doubt with resilience, fear with faith, hesitation with action. But it doesn't happen automatically. You must train your mind the way an athlete trains their body, consistently, deliberately. Patiently, you must become aware of your thoughts, challenge the negative ones, and replace them with something better. I always mess up becomes I'm learning. Nothing ever works for me becomes this is temporary. I'm not like them becomes I'm on my own path. These rewrites don't just change how you feel, they change who you become. We live in a world that often teaches us to expect disappointment. News cycles thrive on fear. Social media magnifies flaws. Our past experiences pile up, layer after layer, until hope feels naive. But that's the lie. The truth is, hope is strength. Optimism is strategy. Choosing to see the good, even when life isn't perfect, is not weakness. It's wisdom. Because when you think positively, you're not just waiting for good things to happen. You're preparing for them. You're creating space for them. You're positioning yourself to recognize them when they come. That mindset doesn't just shift your attitude, it shifts your outcomes. People often ask, but what if I think positively and still fail? And the answer is simple. Then you'll fail with grace, with perspective, with the courage to try again. You'll learn faster, recover sooner, and grow deeper. Positive thinking doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees growth. And growth always leads you somewhere better. It turns pain into purpose. It turns failure into foundation. It turns setbacks into setups. But only if your mind is prepared to see it that way. Your mind is a filter. If you believe the world is against you, you'll interpret everything as a sign of defeat. If you believe there's always a way forward, you'll find options where others see walls. That filter is built thought by thought, day by day. It's built by what you read, who you listen to, how you speak to yourself. You can't afford defeated junk. Not if you want to live fully. Choose what you allow in. Protect your focus, guard your hope. Be intentional about what you plant in your mind, because that is what will grow. Sometimes the hardest part of thinking positively is unlearning the negative stories you've told yourself for years. I'm not good enough. I don't deserve success. I always mess things up. These aren't facts, they're scripts. Scripts written by pain, rejection, or the opinions of others. But you can rewrite them. You can start a new story. A story that says, I'm growing, I'm healing, I'm worthy of trying. It doesn't have to be loud. It just has to be true. And once you start living from that truth, your confidence grows, not the fake, boastful kind, the quiet kind, the kind that doesn't need validation, the kind that knows who you are, even when no one else sees it. Your internal world becomes your compass. It helps you navigate decisions. It shapes your goals. It influences your relationships. If your thoughts are filled with fear and shame, you'll attract people and opportunities that match that energy. But if your thoughts are filled with hope and belief, you'll start noticing doors that were always there. You just couldn't see them before. That's the power of mindset. It either limits your life or expands it. And the choice is yours. You don't need to be naturally positive. That's a myth. Positivity is not a personality trait. It's a practice. It's waking up and choosing to believe that today holds potential. It's reminding yourself that one bad moment doesn't mean a bad day. It's forgiving yourself quickly and encouraging yourself fiercely. It's looking in the mirror and speaking truth over yourself, even when you don't feel it yet. That consistency creates emotional momentum, and once you've built it, it carries you through the hard days. Let's talk about emotions for a moment. Positive thinking doesn't mean ignoring sadness, anger, or fear. Those emotions are valid. But positivity gives you the strength to feel them without becoming them. You can say, I feel discouraged, without saying, I am a failure. You can say, this hurts, without saying, this defines me. Positive thinking helps you process emotions instead of being controlled by them. It gives you space to breathe, to step back, to choose your response. That space is where growth happens. That space is where you reclaim your power. Life will always throw challenges at you. That's guaranteed. But your response is not. And your response is what shapes your reality. When something goes wrong, you can either spiral into blame and bitterness, or you can rise into clarity and courage. That rise begins in the mind. It begins the moment you ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? What does this teach me about my strength? Those questions are anchors. They ground you when everything else feels uncertain. People often underestimate how much their self-talk affects their confidence. Confidence isn't built by compliments, it's built by consistency. Consistency in how you treat yourself. Consistency in how you show up, even when you're scared. Consistency in your inner belief that you have value, even when no one affirms it. That's real confidence. That's the kind that lasts. And it's rooted in the stories you tell yourself. Change the story. Change your life. And yes, it's work. Some days you'll feel like giving up. Some days the negative voices will be louder. But here's the secret. Those are the most important days. That's when your mindset matters most. Anyone can think positively when life is going well. But the real strength shows when everything is falling apart and you still choose hope. When the job falls through, when the relationship ends, when the dream seems out of reach, that's when your thoughts become either your prison or your power. And the decision is made in silence, in the quiet spaces of your mind when no one is watching. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep believing there's more ahead, more growth, more joy, more healing, even when you don't see it yet. Especially when you don't see it yet. That's what separates the dreamers who succeed from those who settle. The ability to think positively in the unknown. The ability to believe before the breakthrough. And finally, remember this. Your thoughts are not just about you. They affect the people around you. They shape how you love, how you lead, how you show up in the world. When you choose positivity, you become a light in a world full of shadows. You become a reason someone else keeps going. You become proof that it's possible to live with hope, even when life is hard. That is a powerful legacy, and it starts not with grand gestures, but with small choices. The choice to believe in yourself, to speak kindly, to think better. So begin again today. Choose your thoughts like your future depends on it, because it does. Speak life into your dreams. Believe in possibilities. Train your mind to see the good, because when you master your mindset, you master your life, and that is the ultimate power, the power of positive thinking, alive and burning bright within you. There's a moment in everyone's life when you stand at a crossroads, and you realize that your thoughts are either going to carry you forward or pull you under. It's not always dramatic, not always visible to others, but inside, it feels like a silent war. Your fears whisper louder, your past echoes sharply, your doubts gather like clouds, heavy and endless, and right there in that fragile, quiet, deeply personal place you face the most important decision of your life. Will I let these thoughts control me, or will I learn to control them? That moment is not about power in the world, it's about power within. And mastering that inner power is what the journey of positive thinking is truly about. You don't get to choose what storms arrive, but you do get to choose the shelter you build inside yourself. That shelter isn't made from comfort or certainty, it's built from mental strength, from believing that no matter how long the night lasts, morning always comes, from refusing to let temporary emotions dictate permanent decisions, from seeing pain not as punishment but as preparation. It's easy to say these words when life is calm, but the real test comes when everything you relied on falls apart. That's when your thinking either becomes your prison or your path. Positive thinking isn't just a feel-good phrase, it's a discipline, a mindset built in the middle of chaos, forged through persistence, and powered by deep inner trust. Think of your mind as a garden. If you let it grow wild, weeds of fear, insecurity, and resentment will overtake everything. But if you tend to it daily, feeding it with hope, watering it with gratitude, pruning it with truth, it will bloom. Not overnight, and not without effort, but it will bloom. You cannot harvest peace from a garden you've neglected. You cannot expect courage from a mind you've never spoken life into. The seeds you plant today become the life you live tomorrow. You may not see the fruit right away, but keep planting, keep believing. Every thought matters, every choice too. Hope over fear adds to the life you're building. People often think positive thinking is unrealistic, but the truth is it's the most realistic strategy there is. Because life will be hard. People will hurt you. Plans will fall apart. There will be pain, loss, rejection, and disappointment. That's reality. The only question is, how will you respond? Will you let pain become your identity? Will you let failure become your story? Or will you rise again and again, fueled by the belief that this is not the end of you? Positivity doesn't pretend life is perfect. It chooses to find strength even when life is not. That's not delusion, that's power. When your mind is positive, your problems don't disappear, but your ability to face them changes suddenly. You're not just reacting, you're responding. You're not just surviving, you're shaping. The same obstacle that once broke you becomes a lesson. The same delay that once discouraged you becomes a moment to prepare. That's what a positive mindset does. It rewrites the narrative in real time. It says, this setback is not final. It says, there's something in this for me. It says, I won't waste my pain, I'll use it. That inner narrative becomes your compass. And in a world that constantly pulls you off track, you need that compass more than ever. But what about the moments when you don't believe? When the fear is louder than faith? When the hurt is deeper than your hope? In those moments, you don't need to force positivity. You just need to return to the truth. And the truth is, you are not your worst moment. You are not your biggest mistake. You are not the opinions of others. You are not your failures. You are not what you lost. You are the story that rises after all of that. And the story you tell yourself matters more than anything. If you tell yourself you're powerless, you will act powerless. If you tell yourself you're learning, you will find growth in the pain. If you tell yourself you're being prepared for something greater, you will walk through fire with purpose. Speak to yourself like someone who matters. Speak to yourself like someone worth fighting for, because you are. And the words you say to yourself in the quiet, those words shape your identity. Replace I can't with I'm trying. Replace I always mess up with I'm improving. Replace I'm stuck with I'm transitioning. Language is not just a tool. It's a weapon. Use it to build, not break. Use it to lift, not crush. You would never speak to someone you love with the cruelty you speak to yourself, so start showing yourself the same grace. Grace. That word is powerful. Grace says, I can begin again. Grace says, I am allowed to grow slowly. Grace says, healing is not linear. Positive thinking is filled with grace. It's not perfectionism disguised. It's not toxic positivity that tells you to smile when you're breaking. It's the voice that says, even though today is hard, I believe tomorrow holds something better. That voice doesn't silence pain, it comforts it. It doesn't ignore struggle, it walks with it. You don't have to fake strength. You just have to believe that your strength is growing, and it is growing every time you choose not to give up, every time you silence that voice of self-doubt, every time you forgive yourself, every time you try again. Growth doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It comes quietly, in the moments you choose courage when fear would be easier. It comes when you speak gently to yourself after a failure. It comes when you stay kind in a cruel world. Positive thinking isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a whisper in the dark that says, keep going. You're doing better than you think. If you ever wonder why this mindset is so important, look around. Look at the people who gave up on themselves because they believed they had no worth. Look at the ones who never chased their dreams because they believed they weren't enough. Look at the ones who stay in pain because they don't believe they deserve healing. That's what negative thinking does. It steals your future. Positive thinking doesn't just help you feel better, it helps you live better. It doesn't just change how you see the world, it changes how the world sees you. Because when you believe in yourself, even a little, people feel that energy. They respond to it. Opportunities find you. Relationships shift. Life starts to reflect the light you're carrying inside. That light will flicker sometimes. You'll have days when it feels dim, almost gone. But don't panic. Don't give up. That's normal. That's part of the process. Just keep feeding it. Keep speaking life over yourself. Keep choosing thoughts that build instead of destroy. Keep surrounding yourself with people who believe in hope, in growth, in possibility. Energy is contagious. Make sure the energy you let in matches the energy you want to live with. And if no one believes in you right now, let that belief start with you. You don't need a cheering squad. You just need one reason to keep going. And maybe that reason is this: you haven't come this far just to give up. You haven't survived all you've survived to live a life ruled by fear and regret. You have more inside you, more strength, more dreams, more healing, more love. And positive thinking is how you access it. It's not a quick fix. It's a lifelong discipline. It's waking up every day and choosing to see what's possible. It's holding onto hope even when the evidence isn't clear. It's being honest with your pain, but loyal to your growth. It's learning to smile again, not because everything is perfect, but because you've decided not to let the imperfect steal your joy. The most powerful people aren't the loudest. They're the ones who have mastered their inner world, who can walk into any room knowing who they are, who can face storms knowing they're rooted, who can offer kindness even when the world offers cruelty. That kind of power doesn't come from success or praise, it comes from thought. And the beauty of that is this: no one can take it from you. Your mindset belongs to you. Your beliefs belong to you. Your inner world is yours to shape. So shape it well. Plant thoughts that honor your future. Speak words that align with the person you want to become. Treat your mind like sacred ground because it is. It holds the seeds of your next chapter, your next victory, your next transformation. And what you think, consistently and deliberately, determines the life you will live. Let today be a turning point, not the day everything changed, but the day you decided to change within. The day you chose to believe that your best days aren't behind you, they're waiting. That your greatest strength isn't in how loud you are, but in how you think. That you are not here to merely exist. You are here to live fully, boldly, with purpose and with power. And that power begins with a single decision: to think better, to think brighter, to think forward. That is the power of positive thinking. And once you truly own it, you will never be the same again. There's a subtle shift that happens when you begin to truly believe in yourself. When your thoughts no longer revolve around fear or doubt, but begin to echo with quiet confidence. It doesn't scream. It doesn't need to. It moves through you like a gentle current, steady and constant. And it's this shift, this invisible transformation inside your mind, that becomes the foundation of everything you build. Because what you believe about yourself shapes every decision you make, every risk you take, and every dream you chase. Positive thinking isn't just about waking up happy, it's about waking up empowered. It's about knowing that even if the world tells you no, your own mind still tells you yes. And when that internal voice becomes your anchor, nothing outside of you can truly sink you. In the journey of life, people often wait for proof before they believe. They want signs, evidence, applause. But the truth is, belief must come first. Before the results, before the recognition, before the rewards, belief must be the first brick you lay. Because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. And if you wait for others to validate your worth, you'll spend your entire life chasing approval instead of living your truth. Positive thinking flips this script. It says, I don't need to wait to feel worthy. I already am. It says, I don't need permission to try. I already can. It says, even if I fall, I'm still growing. That's the kind of belief that moves mountains, not because the mountains disappear, but because you learn how to climb. You've probably been taught to be humble, to avoid pride, to stay small so others won't feel uncomfortable. And while humility is a virtue, shrinking yourself is not. There's a difference between being humble and being invisible. Positive thinking is not arrogance, it's alignment. It's aligning your mind with truth instead of fear. It's knowing your worth without needing to shout it. It's walking into a room with quiet assurance that you belong, even if no one else says it. Because when your mind is healthy, you don't need constant validation. You don't need to prove yourself. You know that your value is not up for debate, it's already decided. And this mindset doesn't just serve you in moments of victory, it carries you through failure too. Because no matter how strong you are, life will humble you. You will make mistakes, you will face loss, you will doubt your path. But here's what separates those who stay stuck from those who rise: the way they think about failure. To the average mind, failure is the end. To the positive mind, it's a beginning. It's a lesson. It's a redirection, not a rejection. When you think positively, you understand that falling is part of the climb. You no longer fear failure, you respect it. You learn from it. You use it. And every time you get back up, you reinforce the belief that you are resilient, that you are capable, that you are enough. But what happens when your environment doesn't match your mindset? What do you do when the people around you are negative, toxic, or small-minded? That's when positive thinking becomes your shield. You may not be able to change others, but you can protect your peace. You can choose not to absorb their energy. You can draw boundaries. You can walk away from conversations that drain you and walk toward those that fill you. And most importantly, you can remain committed to your own growth, regardless of who is watching or supporting you. Because the truth is, many people won't understand your journey. Some will even resent your optimism, your ambition, your light. But that's not your problem to fix. Your job is to keep rising, to keep shining, to keep thinking in alignment with the life you want to live even if others don't see it yet. And that's another truth of positive thinking. It requires vision. It asks you to see beyond what's in front of you, to imagine better, even when reality says otherwise. That takes courage. That takes strength. It's easy to be negative when everything looks dark. It takes bravery to say, this isn't the end of my story. Vision isn't just about the future, it's about what you believe is possible. It's the fuel behind every decision. If you believe your best days are behind you, you'll live like it. If you believe you're too broken to be healed, you'll never seek wholeness. But if you believe even a little that more is possible, then everything changes. That belief opens doors in your mind. It shifts the atmosphere around you, and slowly, life begins to respond to the new energy you're creating. And let's talk about that energy because it's real. People feel your energy before they hear your words. They feel your confidence before you act. They feel your inner peace before you speak. Positive thinking radiates. It draws people in. It creates opportunities. It builds trust, not just in relationships or careers, but in yourself. When your mind is strong, you don't second-guess every decision. You don't sabotage your progress. You don't constantly seek reassurance. You move with clarity. You move with faith. And even if things don't go exactly as planned, you trust that something greater is unfolding. Trust, that's a word we don't talk about enough. Positive thinking is rooted in trust, not blind optimism, but deep, conscious trust. Trust that the process is shaping you. Trust that the delays are divine. Trust that every no is making room for a better yes. Trust that you don't need all the answers right now to keep going. Trust that healing takes time. Trust that growth is not always visible, but it's happening. When you live with that kind of trust, life becomes less about control and more about flow. You no longer cling to outcomes. You show up fully and let life meet you where you are. That's freedom. That's power. You weren't born to live small. You weren't created to just exist. There is something inside you, a purpose, a fire, a voice that deserves to be expressed. But for it to be heard, your mind must be in harmony. You must believe in your voice before anyone else does. And when you do, you'll stop hiding. You'll stop playing safe. You'll stop watering yourself down to fit into spaces you've outgrown. Positive thinking gives you permission to take up space, to speak your truth, to live boldly, not recklessly, but authentically, with conviction, with joy, with purpose. This kind of mindset is a daily practice. It's not a what-I'm event. It's something you wake up and choose again and again. On the hard days, on the lonely days, on the days when doubt creeps in, you choose it anyway. You speak life anyway. You show up anyway. Because that's what transformation looks like. It's not sudden. It's steady. It's in the repetition. It's in the decision to not quit. And over time, you'll look back and realize that you're not the same person anymore. You think differently. You respond differently. You carry peace where you used to carry panic. You carry joy where you used to carry dread. That's the evidence of change, not in the external, but in the internal. So many people live waiting to feel good, waiting to be ready, waiting for the perfect moment. But life doesn't wait, and neither should you. The time to think differently is now. The time to believe in yourself is now. The time to rewrite your story is now. You don't need a perfect past. You don't need a clear path. You just need willingness. Willingness to try. Willingness to grow. Willingness to be kind to yourself. Willingness to think a new thought. That one thought could change everything. One shift in perspective could open a new path. One new belief could lead to a new identity. Don't underestimate the power of a single thought. It all begins there. You may not control every thought that enters your mind, but you do get to choose which ones stay. So keep the ones that build you. Let go of the ones that break you. Feed the thoughts that strengthen your spirit, and starve the ones that shame you. Your mind is your home. Make it a place of peace, not punishment. Speak to yourself like you would to someone you love. Protect your energy like it's sacred because it is. Align your thinking with love, with purpose, with truth. And never forget, your mind is not your enemy. It's your greatest ally if you train it to be. That's the power of positive thinking. It's more than mindset. It's a way of life, a way of rising, a way of healing, a way of winning battles no one sees. And it's available to you right now, not when life is easier, not when the pain is gone, but now, in this moment, with all that you are, just as you are enough, you are strong, and you are capable of creating a life that reflects the beauty of your renewed mind. Let today be your proof. Let this very moment be your beginning. And from here on, let every thought be a step toward the life you were always meant to live. It all comes down to one decision, the decision to choose light, even when darkness surrounds you. The decision to choose growth, even when pain feels overwhelming. The decision to think forward, even when your past still pulls you back. Positive thinking is not some magic that removes obstacles from your path. It's the force that gives you the courage to keep walking, even when the path is steep. It's the voice inside you that whispers, "Keep going," when everything else screams, "Give up." It's what separates people who merely exist from those who truly live. It's what transforms moments of weakness into turning points of strength. And it's what turns ordinary people into extraordinary souls, not because life became easier, but because they became stronger. Positive thinking is not pretending everything is perfect. It's understanding that even in imperfection, there is purpose. It's not about ignoring reality, it's about responding to it with a mindset that empowers, rather than paralyzes. Life will challenge you. Life will test your limits. Life will hand you seasons of struggle that make you question everything you believe. And it's in those moments that your thinking becomes your shelter or your prison. If you surrender to fear, anxiety, and despair, you'll find yourself caged inside your own mind. But if you train yourself to look for the lesson, to search for the opportunity, to cling to the belief that something beautiful can come out of the chaos, then you will rise not untouched by the storm, but transformed by it. You may ask, how do I keep thinking positively when life keeps knocking me down? The answer is not in suppressing your pain, but in how you frame it. The story you tell yourself about your pain defines its power. If you believe it's the end of your joy, it will be. But if you believe it's the beginning of your strength, it becomes that. The greatest shift happens not when the pain goes away, but when you no longer see it as your enemy. Positive thinking is choosing to believe that your scars are reminders of your survival, not symbols of your weakness. It's choosing to see failure not as shame, but as education. It's choosing to see every closed door not as rejection, but as redirection. It's choosing to see the delay not as denial, but as divine timing in disguise. People often think that positive thinkers are just lucky, that somehow their lives are easier. But behind every peaceful mind is a battlefield that was conquered. Behind every smile is a season of sorrow that was endured. The people who radiate positivity are the ones who have suffered deeply and still chose not to let the darkness win. They trained their minds. They fought through fear. They reframed their thoughts again and again, until those thoughts became beliefs, and those beliefs became identity. This is not easy work. It's daily, it's deliberate, it's discipline, and it's worth everything. Think of your mind as a garden. Every thought is a seed. You can't plant negativity and expect peace to bloom. You can't nurture fear and expect confidence to grow. If you want to change your life, start by pulling the weeds. Question your thoughts. Challenge your doubts. Don't believe every fear that enters your head. Thoughts are not facts, they are habits. And like all habits, they can be replaced. You get to choose what you focus on. You get to decide which thoughts deserve your attention. You get to decide which voice becomes louder, your inner critic or your inner champion. You will face voices of doubt both inside you and around you. People will question your choices, your path, your belief in yourself. But positive thinking gives you the internal stability to stay grounded when everything else shakes. You won't need to justify your journey to anyone. You'll stop living to be understood and start living to be authentic. When you know who you are, when your mind is clear, when your heart is in alignment with your values, you don't chase approval. You lead with purpose. You walk in peace, and that peace becomes your greatest power. You will also face moments where your mind tries to sabotage you, where old patterns try to pull you back, where fear convinces you to settle, where comfort tries to replace growth. But positive thinking is not about eliminating fear, it's about overriding it. It's about noticing that voice and choosing to rise above it. It's about saying, I hear you, but I don't obey you. And with each decision to move forward, you rewire your brain. You build a new default. You turn strength into your new normal. And over time, what once felt impossible becomes instinct. Positive thinking doesn't just affect your inner world, it changes everything. It changes how you show up in relationships. It changes how you approach challenges. It changes how you treat people. It changes how you treat yourself. When your mind is filled with hope, love, faith, and clarity, your presence becomes magnetic. You attract better energy. You create better results. You speak differently, walk differently, live differently. You're no longer moved by temporary emotions, you're rooted in lasting values. And people feel that. The energy you give becomes the energy you live. Sometimes, the biggest test of your mindset comes in the silence, when no one is clapping, when nothing is working, when the waiting feels endless. That's when many people break. But those who hold on to their positive thinking, even in silence, even in waiting, they're the ones who are being prepared for something greater. Silence doesn't mean you've been forgotten. It means your roots are growing deeper. It means your foundation is being strengthened. So don't rush the process. Don't curse the delay. Use it. Grow in it. Let your mind become so strong in the quiet that when the noise finally comes, you are unshakable. What if every day was an opportunity to think better? What if each morning was a blank canvas, not haunted by yesterday, but inspired by possibility? That's what positive thinking invites you into, a life where your past is a reference, not a residence. A life where you no longer carry guilt like its identity. A life where you no longer replay what broke you, but you rewrite the narrative. You say, that hurt me, but it didn't destroy me. You say, that season shaped me, but it didn't define me. You say, I'm still here, and that means I still have purpose, and you do. Every person reading these words has a mind that is more powerful than they realize. You don't need to control the world to feel peace, you just need to control your perspective. You don't need a perfect life to feel joy, you just need a trained mind. You don't need everyone to support you, you just need to support yourself. Your greatest strength will never be how loudly you speak, how much you achieve, or how much you own. Your greatest strength will be the way you think, how you protect your peace, how you shift your energy, how you lead yourself when no one is watching. So let this be the moment you choose to think better, not just because it feels good, but because it works. Because it heals, because it frees, because it leads you to a version of yourself that you've only glimpsed in your best moments. And that version of you, the one who thinks with clarity, loves with depth, moves with faith, and lives with joy, that person is not a fantasy. That person is real. That person is within you. And that person becomes your reality the moment you stop feeding fear and start feeding faith. This is not a what-I'm choice. This is a daily practice. You will fall, you will forget, you will lose your way. But each time, come back, return to the truth. Remind yourself that your thoughts create your reality. And if you don't like the reality you're living, change the thoughts you're believing. Start small. One thought, one moment, one shift. That's all it takes to begin. And once you begin, don't stop. Build momentum, build belief. Build a mind so powerful that nothing can shake your peace, steal your joy, or distort your worth. And when people ask you how you stayed strong, how you kept going, how you made it through, you won't need to say much, because your life will speak for itself. It will show the power of a transformed mind. It will echo with the truth that everything changed the moment you did. That's the power of positive thinking, not in theory, but in action. Not in words, but in the life you create. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. It's not just about avoiding pain, it's about building a life that's too beautiful to be defined by it. So, take this with you. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not your doubt. You are not your fear. You are what you choose to believe. You are what you choose to focus on. and you are capable of rewriting your future through the lens of a renewed mind. Let today be the beginning. Let this be your turning point, and when you look back one day, let it be with gratitude that you chose a better thought, a better belief, a better path. You didn't wait for the world to change, you changed yourself. And that changed everything. This is the end of the book, but it is only the beginning of your new story. Go live it, boldly, bravely, positively, and never forget the power was always within you.